Here we go in. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Man, Mark Byington is on a roll. Second straight commit in as many days. It's pretty exciting on West End.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Today's episode, we're going to break down the commitment of Cornell guard Chris Manon and what that means for Vandy. Also, Mark Byington is truly on a heater. With the transfer portal raging on, Eli Stowers, is he the next Aggie Dore? Am I going to trademark that phrase? I might have to. So baseball also limps into the weekend series against Mississippi State. Shorthanded pitching staff needs big innings from its starters, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. So thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Shout out to the everydayers. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and as a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. So Chris Manon commits to Vanderbilt. He is on. So if you don't know the story, he was on the verge of committing to Seton Hall, and he visits Vanderbilt and leaves a commit. So this is awesome for this program. Mark Byington is on an absolute heater right now. And this program started, they went through a stretch of time where it was like, okay, well, he's building slowly. It might be kind of a rebuilding year. He's got to put some things together. You know, he's gonna establish the identity and things like that. And then all of a sudden, you know, you get your second commit, Tyler Nickel, then you get MJ Collins, then you get, you know, Grant Huffman, and the commits just start rolling in after that. And next thing you know, it's okay, well, now we've got all these dynamic pieces to this puzzle that's called positionless basketball. And now Vandy goes from a rebuilding, establish the identity, be more competitive, you know, start inching towards the middle of the pack in the SEC from the cellar. Now you get into a range of, you don't have any superstars, but like football, you have a bunch of puzzle pieces that fit really well together. And in a world where there's two worlds that you live in sports, either you out talent and outclass everybody, or you have a unified team of puzzle pieces that fit perfectly together, play their roles, and just execute as one. And so I think Vanderbilt is obviously leaning towards that. And with his philosophy of fast-paced, positionless basketball, I think that the pieces that he's gotten, the different they fit into different roles. They do different things really well. And you got a couple of dynamic guys in there that kind of just bring the energy and bring the pizzazz. And it's a great thing. Had Devin McLaughlin commit, then Chris Manon right on the heels of that. And so it's just been like bam, 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 commit after commit after commit after commit. You know, and it's it's been an exciting time for basketball, and it proves that Mark Byington is that right guy. It proves that he's doing things the right way. He's hired a great staff, obviously. As soon as he named some of his assistants officially, you started to see these portal guys just jumping on board left and right. You get scores, you get a wing player, you get a dominant inside player. Yeah, he's a little bit undersized, but he plays like he's 6'11". He's only 6'7", but he plays like he's 6'11". And you have a couple point guards, a couple distributing three-point shooting point guards. You have a scorer, a slasher, and then you have some other guys, some dynamic players. And then You save one of your big power forwards from entering the portal, a guy that became more productive as the year went on. Now, I say all of that to say Mark Byington has really built this nucleus to really having a really good team. So now your floor becomes middle of the pack, and now we're looking at best case scenario being able to get in as like a 11 or 12 seed into the NCAA tournament, possibly. I know that seems like a little bit of a lofty goal, but like with the nucleus that they've built, the system that they all fit into, it's a possibility. It really is. Postseason play for sure. NCAA tournament is now, it ain't that far away. It ain't that far out of your reach. Whereas I think right before we hired Mark Byington, or even when we were hiring Mark Byington, I don't think anybody thought, okay, we're in 3 years, we're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Now we have a chance of being in this thing first year. Likely not, if I'm being realistic, but that chance now exists where it didn't before, because guys were jumping off the portal left and right. Things weren't a fit for some of these guys, lost some guys to graduation, that kind of thing. But now you bring in these new pieces, and it's going to be a small team, and I think that's going to be your biggest challenge. I don't think Mark Byington's done, by the way, but you're going to be a little bit on the small side, which that's going to present a little bit of a challenge. But I think at the pace that you're going to play at the with everything that's going to happen scheme wise, I think it'll be okay and you'll be competitive. But I think I think the biggest problem that Vanderbilt needs to solve, that Mark Byington needs to solve, is to figure out if a team does indeed is able to slow the game down to a half court heavy type game. Where are you going to get those big bodies that can play around the rim and play in the paint? Because other teams are going to have those, and that's where you're going to kind of lose out. You're going to lose out on the boards. A lot of rebuilding teams, that's kind of like their first thing. They get a whole bunch of guards and a whole bunch of, smaller big guys in, and you get those positions solidified. Like you get your shooters, you get your drivers, you get your forwards that can play mid-range and in and finish around the rim and dunk, and some of the exciting stuff that some of these guys can do. You get some of those positions solidified, and then eventually, those 6'11", 7-footer, 7'1" guys they're a little bit more difficult to find in some scenarios, but like they're out there. You just gotta get in the right opportunity to land one. But in the meantime, I think that the pieces that you've gotten have made you competitive enough that you can compete in that realm. So what exactly is Chris Manon? How does he fit into this role? He's got 1 year of eligibility left, so he doesn't have much time. But what I really like about him, and his puzzle piece is like he's going to be a bridge guy because he has experience in this type of scheme, right? He's a fast-paced oriented guy. That's what they did at Cornell. He's a distributor, which is exactly what you need with Jason Edwards, Tyler Nickel, MJ Collins, and even getting things down low to McLaughlin, Vin Allen Lubin, and Jalen Carey. Like distributing the ball around is probably going to be his main role. He has a really good ability to shoot, though, so don't discount that. I think he's going to be somebody that is going to distribute and then get a return pass after somebody drives and dishes out, and he can hit a three. So he is almost 35% from 3-point land. He doesn't shoot a ton because of his ability to pass and his ability to distribute and get things going. But he's somebody that I think can just kind of work the ball where it needs to go and be the assist guy and just kind of be like a culture guy and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. This is the scheme. This is how we're supposed to push. And he can be that guy that says, okay, expect this guy to be here. So when you break here, cut there, and I'll give you the rock. and you can you'll have an open look at the basket, and things like that, things that like younger players don't necessarily know because they just haven't been in the college game as long and hasn't seen as many situations open up. Defensive end of the ball, he's kind of middle of the pack there. He is not quite as strong as others on the defensive side of the ball, but he is also somebody that can guard the front court and just kind of force the ball where it needs to go and communicate. And the leadership is probably the main thing. He's a little bit bigger of a guard, so that's good. But he is he's an assist guy. His main role is going to be experience, coaching, distributor, things like that. He's going to get the ball to the scorers and then be able to score on some chances as well. So he's in the 76th percentile as a transition basketball player. I think he'll fit quite nicely into the scheme. So like I said, Mark Byington is just, and we'll talk more about just like how he's been able to strike while the NIL iron is hot. I'm sure he's going to get another commit here at some point to fill out the roster. Needs another big guy desperately, but he's just been crushing. He's on an absolute heater, and it just goes to show you that like he's got a great, exciting scheme. Nashville and Vanderbilt are starting to kind of flex some NIL muscle, and you're starting to see kind of all that come together. So it's going to be a fun year in Vanderbilt, and welcome aboard Chris Manon. So speaking of transfer portal, stop me if you've heard this one. There's an Aggie Dore on the way. Is Eli Stowers going to be the next commit? Is he going to be the next Aggie Dore? He very well could be, but we'll talk about that next. All right. Have you ever had a frustrating ticket buying experience, especially when you've been trying to go to an MLB game? Well, you better be lucky Gametime exists now. They are now an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So my favorite thing is the views from the seats. You can view any seat in the house, whether you're sitting in section 101, row B, seat 12, or you're sitting in section 321, row Z, seat 16. You can see what you're going to see from that venue, from that seat. I love that. That's my favorite thing. So seat views, and it's a panoramic view as well. You can preview that. I love the zone deals also because you get good deals on like, hey, I want to sit in section 201, but I'm not sure exactly what seats, and I don't want to do the whole like find out what seats are available. So I'm going to say, hey, I need 4 tickets and seat in section 201, and Gametime is going to find you the best deal. They also have flash deals. So you log on and you see like hey, we got a special on, the Brian Regan show. Bam, you click on it, right? Last minute deals, save 60% off buying last minute for sports, concert, comedy, theater, all that good stuff. These are all really, really good things. You get all in pricing, so you know what the price you're paying is up front. The lowest price guarantee. That's a thing, because if you don't, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. All great things. So here's what you need to do. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, talking FanDuel. You got it. So the NBA and NHL playoffs are raging on. I've actually got a parlay going right now with the Suns, the Mavs. So I just need a money line win for them. Baseball's in full swing as well, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. So bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. So on the eve of the draft, the Locked On NFL mock draft is available now. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on Locked On NFL Draft to hear who the local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On mock draft is available now on Locked On NFL Draft or on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So, talking about transfer portal, Vandy basketball, Mark Byington is on a freaking heater. Chris Manon, the latest commit coming from Cornell. So what's football going to do? Well, football's not done either. They've got some things to fill, more offensive linemen to get, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, defensive linemen, linebackers, you name it. They probably need it. They had some more guys join the portal as well. So like they have to replace all of that. So they've got quite a bit of work to do, quite a bit of work left to do in the portal to kind of fill out the roster. But a name that I'm hearing a great deal from is another Aggie Dore. I love that name. It's Eli Stowers. He's a former 4-star quarterback converted over to tight end, is now in the transfer portal and is obviously looking at the Commodores. He's looking to be the next Aggie Dore. So I'm loving this, man. And one of the things I really like is I really like that Vandy's targeting tight ends, because I think you're going to see them in a scheme, and I talk about this all the time, and it's something that's going to be a recurring theme for Vandy. It's not about going out and say, okay, well, you're the top at your position, you're the top at your position, you're the top at your position, you're the top at your position. We're going to just bring you all in here as a collection of all-stars. No, Vandy is very much on the philosophy of, hey, you've got a very specialized skill set, so you're good at this thing. We need you to come in and do this thing for us at the very least, if not more. And we need you to come in here under the pretense you're going to do this thing, and we're going to develop you and develop your other skills as you contribute doing this one job. Right? Talked about it with Jacob Bostic, likely going to be, a speed guy, special teams guy starting off, and then develop everything else, red zone, special teams guy, and develop everything else. So what Eli Stowers would come in to do is he would come in to kind of be that tight end that is kind of more of like a matchup guy in the passing game, kind of more of like a target, a faster target, somebody that can get out on the perimeter and block, somebody that can play in a bunch of different places, like they can move him around a little bit. Seeing him play, that's kind of what he did at New Mexico State. So you're going to kind of see him just kind of be more of a utility guy. So like if they want to go 12 personnel, like they can put in Cole Spence, on the line of scrimmage, and then they can move Eli Stowers around. They could put him out in the bunch formation in the point and let him go block. They could throw him the ball in some scenarios. They can do some sort of like tight end wing scenario where you have Stowers up and Cole Spence down, or Fortenberry, whatever the case may be. You could have Fortenberry and Stowers out wide. Like you can have some different combinations. You go 13 personnel if you really. If your heart desired, but there's a lot of different possibilities that you can get to with the thought of Eli Stowers coming in and being kind of that versatile piece. So to me, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be a scenario where you're going to see him commit. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him commit. I think he has a good relationship with Pavia. I think he has, something to prove. I think he's somebody that would fit well within this system. And you need, if you're going to be successful as an offense, I think you need as many guys as you can get in, and they have a chance. They have an odd chance that not a lot of teams get, where they hire an offensive coordinator, all of a sudden it's like just a free for all of just a flood of talent coming in from that roster. It's not just like it's not that just he's a good player. It's that he's an expert on the system. He can come in and be a culture guy and say, hey, these guys know what the heck they're talking about. You should listen. We're going to be good. Trust me on this. We were good at New Mexico State. This was kind of our nucleus, and just kind of be that guy that comes in and is like, okay, let's show you the ropes. Let's show you what's going on. So that is why I think it would be a good fit if it happens. And I think it will happen. I think it's something that could happen. So speaking of portal, keep your eyes peeled before we move on to baseball. But keep your eyes peeled for FAMU offensive guard Cardell Thomas. He's got interest from UCLA, UNLV, and Vandy. Those are probably going to be his top three. Went to LSU out of high school. He's a former top 100 recruit, transferred out to FAMU to get more of an opportunity. Likely going to want to get back into the SEC is my guess. And Vanderbilt seems to be the opportunity where he can likely come in and compete for some early playing time. So that would be something that I think would be great if you could get him. I don't know that UCLA offers him some of the same opportunities to get SEC film. I think there's something to some of this. If you're a guy that has potential to play in the NFL, I think getting tape in the best league in the country is beneficial. Now UCLA is going to the Big Ten, so it's not like he's getting terrible tape if he goes there. But you're going to get tape against Alabama. You're going to get tape against Texas, LSU, and Tennessee. Those 4 games could mean the difference in getting picked or not getting picked eventually when he decides to go to the NFL. So that'll be interesting to kind of see how that shakes out. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So anyway, baseball is going to be an interesting series coming up this weekend against Mississippi State. We'll talk about that next. All right, Monopoly Go. I have a competitive side. Face it, we all do, right? It's true. Okay, yeah, I do have that competitive side, right? And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can now charge them rent on my iconic properties like Boardwalk, just like classic Monopoly. But now I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, we are near the end of the show. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Locked On Vandy podcast. Check out Locked On SEC as your next listen. And thank you for joining us. Thank you to the everydayers. You make all this possible. Couldn't do it without you. So, baseball is literally limping into the to the weekend series against Mississippi State. You have to get a walk-off homer in the ninth for a 5-4 victory over UT Martin, who's 15-25, by the way. You get a rehab start from Devin Futrell to kind of see where he's at. He pitched a Butte. But like really kind of the story is like J.D. Thompson getting ejected. Obviously Futrell pitches tonight, so you don't really get him he pitches against UT Martin, so you don't really get him for the series. But, you have to think that this is going to be the biggest test for Vandy. Okay. Now it's a home series, thankfully. And there's a lot going on that people can get excited about this weekend, where you have alumni weekend and you have the national championship teams being honored, and you have, all kind of things happening around campus that can make everybody feel good. But what's not feeling good is Tim Corbin right now trying to do some mental gymnastics with this pitching rotation and looking at his bullpen and going, oh boy, we're going to have to rely on some guys that we've never had to rely on before, or that we haven't had to rely on in quite some time. Because J.D. Thompson is out. He's suspended for having illegal substance. He got ejected, right? So two things need to happen. One, your pitching staff, especially in games 1 and game 2, need to go deep into the game. You need to have Bryce Cunningham and Carter Holton. They need to have the best game of their season, and they need to go deep into the game. Maybe even a complete game if you can get it. You have to save your bullpen as best as you possibly can, because it's going to be important. If Mississippi State gets deep into your bullpen, especially, if they get deep into your bullpen in game 1, it's going to be a sweep. There's just no bones about it. It's going to be a sweep. But if they can get deep in your bullpen at all, they're going to win the series. So you have to really, your pitching is going to really have to go above and beyond this weekend, because they're shorthanded with injury, between a few injuries. McIlvain is still down. Futrell still not quite back, and he started against UT Martin. So he's not starting the weekend. So you're likely going with Grayson Carter. If he's healthy, you've got some guys that are down. So you're going to have to, these freshmen are going to have to kind of step up, and they're going to have to throw some big innings as well. On the flip side of that, you're a team that doesn't have a ton of power already. You're going to have to find a way to produce runs and produce them early. Because when the Vandy boys score early, they win. Okay. You're going to have big games out of Matthew Polk, Jonathan Vastine, Troy Leneve, RJ Austin, the whole cast of crew. You're going to have to get creative with your lineup. You're going to have to find a way to score runs and get run support. You're going to have to find a way to put big numbers up, because if you don't, you're going to find a scenario where your pitchers have to be perfect, and that can't happen with this much pressure and being this shorthanded. So that's the key. Like, pitching has got to stand on its head. That's number one. Number one. Number two, you're going to have to find some power where power didn't previously exist. RJ Austin, he can hit for power, but he's not known as a power guy. Jonathan Vastine can hit for power, but it's not known as a power guy. You've got to find somebody that can flip the script on you, and you got to find a couple of guys that are going to get red hot at the plate this weekend. Like Troy Leneve, this would be a perfect game for Troy Leneve to get red hot. This would be a great game for Vastine to get on base and just get around every time. This would be a great series for him to go like 3 for 4, 4 for 4, 3 for 5, get on base and score a lot of runs. Same with Camden Kozel, same with Jaden Davis. Like, these guys are going to have to kind of get on base, wreak havoc, force Mississippi State into some errors, and find creative ways to score runs. If they don't, it's going to be a long series. And then when you get guys healthy, maybe you can get back to, more early season form where like you won 17 straight home games, that type of thing. But you can't let the season slip away because you haven't hit for power all year long, which that's something you need to address in the portal next year is find a couple of power bats, find you a Charlie Condon, find you somebody like that. Find you a Caglione that just left last weekend, Jack Caglione. Find you somebody like that can just destroy the ball. Find you a couple of guys that are on Texas A&M's roster that can destroy the baseball. Like, you got to find some of those type guys in the portal. That's got to be a thing. That's got to be a must. So, but yeah, so pitching's gonna have to find a way to carry it. That's just the way this team's built. And you're gonna have to find a way to score 6 runs. You got to score 6. I think 6 is your magic number each game, because I think Mississippi State can hit a little bit. So anyway, that's going to do it for us here on this Hump Day episode of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. We thank you for listening. Hope you make us part of your listen each and every day. But until then, we'll see you back here. We got Kurt Page on for a 2-part series to round out the week and to get us into the weekend. So enjoy that coming up as well. So thank you for listening. And as always, anchor down.